The whole point of this action today is that we are going in and we're going to be disrupting the office space. We're going to leverage our presence to get on the phone with one of the CEOs of BNSF, and we're not going to leave until he agrees to uphold our demands.
One more thing, why we're doing this is because we love this state and we don't want it to be transformed. And big oil and the railroad are threatening that. We love this, we have to come from love. So let's just center ourselves that we love this place, we love each other, and we're doing this peacefully and passionately. So I know many of you are nervous, but we just need to remember that as our last thing that we say.
On Monday, December 7th, 43 Seattle residents occupied the Burlington Northern Santa Fe corporate office to speak out against the company's continued involvement in fossil fuel extraction and transport, including transforming the Pacific Northwest into the nation's growing fossil fuel export depot. The group stands in solidarity with all people who live and work within the blast zone surrounding our railways, and with Native tribes whose treaties have been violated by BNSF. After more than 2 hours of occupation, 13 were cited by BNSF security and released.
Hi, Cynthia. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
So what brought you here today?
Well, I'm here because I'm very concerned about the planet. I'm very concerned about fossil fuels, and this is the time that we need to be thinking about this seriously. With COP21 happening, they should know that we are angry about what's going on and we want to see real changes. Now, hundreds of thousands of people are in Paris demanding that world leaders move beyond political reality and attend to the actual reality of the physics of our planet. Our future depends on it. Business as usual, represented, fueled, and accelerated by fossil fuel transport, can lead us only to disaster. While the world is still dependent for now on some fossil fuel use, we have three modest demands. Number one, respect Native American treaty rights. Train tracks running across the northern edge of the Swinomish Reservation were laid in the late 1800s. No trains carrying Bakken oil should encroach upon the reservation or its treaty fishing grounds unless and until an explicit agreement has been made with the tribe. Number two, all trains carrying Bakken crude must be staffed by a crew of at least 2 people. We think the folly of forcing a single person to operate a mile-long train filled with some of the most explosive fuel on Earth should go without saying. Yet BNSF has been fighting Washington legislation that would require it to have at least 2. Number 3, trains carrying Bakken crude must not pass by the Seattle stadiums when there are games in progress.
Hi, I'm Margot Polly.
And why are you here at BSNF today?
Well, because we need to stop oil trains. We need to stop fossil fuel. We got to keep 80% of it in the ground. And so we're here to try to convince BNSF to do the right thing. We're also here in support of everybody in Paris in the COP21 and in solidarity with frontline communities everywhere, indigenous communities everywhere that are being hit so extremely hard by climate change.
Hi, Jill.
These trains are also the lifeline to bringing dirty, destructive coal and oil to our homelands. They're going out to the ports and being shipped off to countries where our brothers and sisters in the global south are resisting large-scale mining, coal power plants, that is destroying their lives and their livelihood. And so, as you can see, these trains are the lifeline of this destructive, suicidal fossil fuel economy that capitalism is at the heart of. And so we must stop the exploitation of our communities and the exploitation of the earth. And we are calling on the leadership to be transferred to the rightful defenders of the land, indigenous communities and communities of color.
So can you please state your name and spell it out for us?
My name is Garrett.
And what brings you out here to the corporate office today?
The same thing that about 40 or 50 people are here to tell Burlington Northern that they really should be doing a better job of being careful, and maybe they shouldn't be hauling dangerous materials through the middle of the city.
And what does climate justice mean to you?
Well, it's a tough one to pin down. It's very big. But the main point is that it's the communities that are suffering first and worst from this problem are not the communities that created it. And so we here in the developed world have a really particular, and especially in the U.S., have a very particular responsibility to make sure that we stop doing further damage and that we help to make up for the damage that's already been done.
Ed Lambert.
And so what brought you to BNSF's office today?
I really find it offensive that the railroads have this false narrative of being a corporation in the public good, that they're doing things, and what she was just saying, the public relations person, was that we're just we carry what we're supposed to carry, but in reality they were purchased by Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway in 2009 on an idea from Bill Gates that said that the Keystone XL pipeline is not going to pass, and you should expand the oil carrying capacity so that in case that doesn't, so you can get that oil out of the ground. And their profits have increased since 2009 by 57%.
So can you please state your full name for this interview?
Blaine Doherty.
So what brought you to this protest today?
So I do some work with Rising Tide Seattle, and basically they were involved in planning some of it. And I'm here because BNSF is one of the major railroads responsible for bringing fossil fuels through the Pacific Northwest, and more specifically today, they're not respecting the treaty rights of the Snohomish tribe mostly, and they're also endangering Seattle City residents.